In this video, I'm looking at the Sivga Robin SV021 headphones. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. So here's the Sivga Robin. Now this is a $149 headphone. Comes with 50mm polycarbonate dynamic drivers inside. And yeah, it is quite a handsome thing, as you can see here. It's got these nice wooden ear cups. It comes in two colors. This is what they call the black, and there's another one probably called, I have no idea, but it's you can check it out. I might even throw a picture for you here. But let's get right into this, and I'm going to show you first of all the build, and it is a really nice build. They're quite a lightweight headphone. It's like 248 grams if I remember correctly, and the build quality feels pretty nice and sturdy. There's no excessive creaking or noises coming from the frame. And on the headband here, you've got this nice padded protein leather, faux leather, with some nice soft padding on the underside. The frame down below the headband here is all metal, and you've got these adjustment sliders here which have a pretty good range, so it should be okay for people with large heads. I keep mine right down there, which is good for me. So yeah, it's all built around this spring steel headband. Then you've got a metal yoke, and then of course the wooden ear cups, and then you've got these luscious thick memory foam pads, really soft. These are wonderful, and the clamping force is quite light too, and those things in combination with the lightweight mean that this is a very comfortable headphone. At least it is for me anyway, and I can wear these for hours and hours without any problems. However, my ears do get quite warm. These ear pads don't really let in any fresh air, so your ears might get hot, but apart from that, very comfortable. I'll show you the driver enclosure now. So that's the pad there, comes off just with a twist, nice and easy. And there you can see the driver inside there, the polycarbonate 50mm driver. So let's pop this back on now, just like that. So overall, beautiful build, really comfortable, very lightweight, feels good. I don't know how well this soft protein leather will hold up over time, only time will tell, but yeah, out of the box for the price, really nice. Included with the headphones, you get this braided fabric covered cable. It is nice and lightweight and nice and supple. It's 1.6 meters long, so it's a little bit long for portable use, but I find this length to be perfect for the desktop. Really nice length for the desktop. So on one end, you've got a standard 3.5mm single-ended termination, and on the other end, the connectors are 2.5mm. Okay, time for the sound breakdown. And the Robins here have a nice linear, balanced, neutral presentation, pretty much uncolored across the board. The bass is a little bit elevated above absolute neutral for sure, but it's not a massive bass. They're definitely not a bass head headphone. At least the ones that I have are definitely not bass head headphones. But yeah, nice little elevation on the bass, pretty neutral though. Nice punchy mid bass, it's fairly clean, got a good well-defined leading edge on it. Got a nice bit of drive and power and slam to it. But like I said, it's not a huge bass, it's pretty tame as far as quantity goes. The sub bass is fairly nice, it's got pretty good extension going down low. You do get a nice bit of rumble, but not a huge one. It doesn't really shake your head about. It's fairly tame overall, but it doesn't feel like it's lacking in the bass department in any way. And the overall quality of the bass is quite good. It's reasonably fast, and it doesn't get slowed up or congested during busy segments. And then there's the mid-range, and the mid-range again is fairly neutral. Quite an open, spacious sounding mid-range. It's a little bit on the ethereal side of things. It doesn't sound anemic or thin. It could use just a little bit more body perhaps. the thing I find about the mid-range, it's slightly lacking in density, but that brings me to another point. I'm going to diverge here for a moment because I want to talk about the sound and how that's related to these ear pads. You see, these ear pads are, as you can see, they're pretty thick, and that is proper memory foam. And when you put them on your head, it can sound a little bit sort of lacking in density. It sounds a little bit distant. That's where part of where the openness and the sound comes from, that and the tuning of the driver. But it just brings up an interesting point, because depending on the size of your head and the pressure that you get on the size of your head, some people might hear these headphones a little bit differently. And what I mean by that is when I press on the ear cups like that and compress the ear pads down a bit, the mid-range really comes forward. It fills out, it gets more body, and it's less distant, it's less recessed in terms of the stage position. And it's quite an interesting occurrence. I don't know if there are other ear pads that are compatible with this sort of system that you get here. I don't know, but if there are, it would really open up some great modding possibilities, because you could change the ear pads and drastically change the sort of sound presentation of these headphones. But just keep that in mind. And I'm guessing over time, as this memory foam slowly gets sort of worn in and compresses a little bit, the mid-range will actually become fuller. So it's something just, I thought it was quite interesting. But anyway, back to the sound presentation now. So you got this big, spacious mid-range, very airy, kind of ethereal sounding. The mid-range doesn't really sound diffuse or insubstantial. It just could use a little bit more density in the center image, just to make it a little bit more tangible and physical. But like I said, that's got a lot to do with the softness and the width of these ear pads, and it might change over time. And as far as the treble goes, the treble is fairly much in line with the mids and the bass. So yeah, like I said, fairly linear presentation, fairly flat presentation across the board. There is a couple of dips in the treble. There's one in the lower treble and there's one in the core treble as well, sort of, you know, surrounded by peaks on either side. And that does a couple of things. First of all, it makes the treble very smooth. It avoids that sibilance region in the treble for one, which is great. But as a sort of effect of that tuning, you do miss out on a little bit of detail, specifically micro details. So it's not a hugely detailed sounding treble, but it is nice and crisp and pretty precise, you know, and it does have a pretty nice timbre to it as well. It's not harsh and it's not sharp or overly bright, and like I said, there isn't any sibilance, but there are some details missing from it. However, you probably won't notice unless you're specifically looking for it, but overall it's got a nice even sound, even presentation. As far as technicalities go, instrument separation is fairly good, resolution is fairly good as well. I would say the detail retrieval is moderate. It's not what I would call good, but it's moderate and good enough. But where this headphone really surprised me was with its soundstage, and it has got a very large soundstage. For a closed back headphone like this, it has got a pretty massive soundstage. It is especially wide, but it is quite deep as well. And that is due to the position of the stage is kind of pushed back that way. So it sounds as though you're not in the front row, you're a few rows back from the front of the stage. The stage position itself is pushed back that way, and that gives you this really open sensation and great width. These actually sound more open and spacious than some of the open back headphones that I've got. For example, the gold planar GL600 or whatever it was that I did. And finally, in terms of drivability, this is a very easy to drive headphone. It's very efficient. It actually works fine out of a phone or out of a dongle DAC. It doesn't need any amplification, and it will work just fine no matter which source you plug it into. Now I'm just going to do one quick comparison today. I'll move my darling Fat Lab Chimera beautiful amplifier out of the way for a moment, and we'll bring in the Beyerdynamic DT990 Pro. These are 250 ohm headphone, and in terms of overall tonality, these are not too far apart. The Beyerdynamic obviously is far harder to drive. It requires a lot more power than the Sivga, but the tonality is not that different. Sivga has a little bit more bass quantity, whereas the DT990 Pro here has slightly thicker leading edges on bass notes, on kick drums and whatever, and it has a slight sub-bass roll-off. So the Sivga has more bass present specifically in the sub-bass region, but they're not that far apart. Now in the mid-range, I would say the DT990 Pro vocals are a little bit more forward. They're a little closer to the listener, and they have a little bit more density, so they feel slightly more tangible, like you could reach out and touch the person singing. And I would say the overall resolution and instrument separation is slightly better on the Beyerdynamic. And when we get to the treble, the DT990 Pro has a more forward treble, so it is slightly brighter, and you do get occasional hints of sibilance with this headphone, but at the same time it is much more revealing in terms of detail retrieval, especially micro details. So you might hear some details and sounds on the DT990 Pro that you miss on the Sivga. However, the Robin SV021 overall is a less fatiguing headphone. It's a little bit smoother to listen to. You can listen to it a bit longer and a bit louder, whereas the Beyerdynamic can get a little bit hot in the treble if you are listening at louder volume. So that is the Sivga Robin SV021 headphone, coming in $149. What do I think about this? I like it. I like it. It is not the greatest headphone out there. It does have some very good competition, like this one here. But yeah, I don't think for the casual listener, I certainly don't think they would be disappointed with this headphone. Actually, I think they would probably be quite delighted with it. It's just beautiful. Look at it. Fantastic. It's lightweight, it's comfortable, pretty good sound, and I think you're getting a pretty good headphone for the price. So let me know what you think, guys. Leave a comment down below. Do you want these? Do you have them already? I would be particularly interested actually to hear comments from you guys who have this headphone, because things I've seen around the web, there are quite some polarizing views on how these sound. I think it's a pretty nice headphone. Anyway, that wraps it up for this video. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, Parfam audiophile style. And if you are new to the channel and you want to see more content like this, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I'll see you later.